up into a V-sit position. So I want to get nice and wide with the legs, actively reaching the knees down to the floor and actively pulling the back of the foot towards the shin, like you're trying to pull your foot back. I'm kind of imagining that my heels are reaching and extending along the floor away from my hips. I want to feel deep into my hip sockets. Hands can come behind the hips to support and kind of get the tall in the spine. We can even spiral those elbows out in order to get that nice opening of the chest. But our focus is going to be on the hips to start with. So we're going to do some rotations. Looking at the knee, I want to rotate the knees as far out as you can without going into pain, and then rotate them as far in as you can without going into pain. Getting a nice spiraling action through the leg all the way up into that hip socket. And this is really where I want to feel how far can I rotate my knee inwardly on the right side compared to the left side. How far out can I rotate them? Is there a difference? Do I feel different tension and tightness deep in that hip socket? Is there a clunky spot? Is there a spot on one hip where it doesn't feel as smooth? I want to pay attention to those things. Those are really, really important to take note of. With each one, seeing if you can squeeze a little bit more open and a little bit more internally closed. And then we're going to start to add a little flossing at the ankle. So on the next one, as you spiral out, we're then going to point the toes, reaching through the toes as far as you can and spiraling all the way in and then pulling the toes back. I want to be very active. I'm actively reaching down through the knees, very active with my reach through the toes. I want to feel that stretch all the way down through the ankle, all the way down to the toes. Again, we're kind of flossing out that ankle joint. If you're feeling any cramping in the arch of the foot, you can soften up the movement just a little bit. If your feet feel strong, we can add another layer to this. As you point, you can even grip the toes a little bit. And then as you start, bring it all the way through and pull back, you can spread and pull the toes back, opening up the toes as much as you can and then clenching them as you reach. Now we're going to reverse direction. I want to change directions, doing the exact same spiraling. Again, if you feel comfortable enough to clench the toes and spread the toes, great. It's possible that adding that layer of clenching will bring about a little like Charlie horse feel spasm in the arch of the foot, and those can be a little uncomfortable. I don't want to go quite to that degree with our movement, but kind of getting it to move as much as you feels comfortable. Let's go ahead and stay in this position just a hair longer. So coming back just to our regular position, active knees reaching down, actively pulling the back of the feet towards the shin. Now I'm bringing my hands forward. Nice inhale, feel the spine get tall, and on the exhale, we're going to fold, letting our hands reach forward fully with that exhale. Inhale, allowing it to come back up. I want to continue to find that nice crocodile breath. We're still expanding outward in all directions through the abdominals. Exhale, drawing navel into spine as we reach forward. Make sure that you're actively reaching down through the knees and actively pulling the feet back. And start to notice, how does this feel on the right leg compared to the left leg? How does it feel in the low back on the right side compared to the left side? Does one side speak a little louder? Is it a little tighter, a little tenser? Do you feel it more like behind the knee, up higher in the hamstring, or in that low back area? As we're getting into our forward folds, we can now start to go off center, starting to reach a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left, going back and forth. Again, noticing the difference. How does it feel on the right side compared to the left side? We can continue to kind of open it up and start to reach more towards the heel. I want to be more kind of exploratory here. So we can even reach behind the heel. Again, I want to keep that nice assessment. Ooh, that side's a little tighter. Noting, like when I reach to my right side, I can get pretty far. When I come to my left side, ooh, I can't go as far. The right side of my low back feels a little bit tight and restricted. So that's part of the reason I want to explore these patterns, is to feel where exactly that tension and tightness comes in. And mine very specifically is when I reach back behind that heel. So I got some tightness in my low back. That's the kind of stuff that I want to pay attention to. Now we're going to change positions and get into our frog, getting on hands and knees. I want the knees to go out nice and wide. Heels are staying in kind of close together. On our wrists, we're going to take some nice crocodile breaths. On the inhale, we're moving forward. And on the exhale, we're letting our hips sink back to our heels. Inhale, coming forward. And exhale, nice sink. Now I want to see if we can feel that stretch kind of in the deep adductor space. We're still working deep in that hip socket. Notice if it feels tighter on the right side compared to the left side. Almost as if your hips want to move more to one side of the body and it feels tighter and it wants to avoid the other side. Those are little imbalances that I kind of want to take notice of. And I feel a little tighter in my left hip. If this position's feeling good, we can drop down to our elbows and continue to slide the hips back. Now, one thing we can watch out for, or I want to pay attention to, is getting a little bit of a butt wink where our pelvis drops underneath and scoops. So if you find that your pelvis is scooping, it's okay as a movement, but I also want to feel if I can keep that pelvis tilted forward so I keep my spine, my back a little straighter as I reach back hips to heels. So sometimes playing with a little bit of pelvic scoop in this position can allow us to keep that pelvis reaching back instead of scooping and tucking. It'll change what you're feeling deep into the hips. So a little bit of pelvic play can be good just for exploring this movement. Let's bring it back up to our hands so that we're not quite in that deep depth of the movement. And now we're going to work a little bit of rotation deep in that hip socket. I want to think about that outside ankle. We're going to lift it up and rotate around the knee, lifting it up towards the ceiling, bringing it back down, and then doing the same thing on the other side. Inhale as you let your foot rest. Exhale as you lift and rotate. Go slow and easy. And start to feel the difference on the right side compared to the left side. Does one side move a little bit more? Can you lift that ankle higher? Is the other side a little tighter? My left hip is just a little bit tighter than the right hip. And then we'll slowly get out of that position.